Thanks, there. Welcome to Toffee TV. It's the final word. Everton 1, Leicester City 1. 2 points dropped or a point gained. That is, I think that's the big debate for people, Baz. I know where you are. Where are you?
Sat here. No, because it's a home game and the points were arguably more important for us, it feels like 2 points dropped. The context of the game and the way Leicester played and the fact we're behind in injury time, of course it's a point gained because we didn't have the point, did we? But for me, that's where it is. It's not. I'm not looking at it going, we were the better team and they were terrible, because they weren't. They controlled the game. Yeah. But it's because of just the context of it. It feels like 2 points drop. But again, if you'd have offered me a point in the 91st minute, I'd have bit your hand off for it. And it could be a huge point.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, isn't it? You can always, I mean, it's one of those things, isn't it? You know, you get the Man City game where you don't get a penalty, or, you know, and people say, well, that's the point that could be costing us, and then you get a point last night in a game where you haven't actually played particularly well. It's 1 point won't make the difference in terms of like one game. It's the whole season. The whole season we've been pretty poor, but for this game, I don't think we played particularly well. I think we huffed and puffed. I thought it was very, very similar to a lot of games we've played this season. More recently, in the last 5-6 games at home, I think there've been a lot of the same kind of game. And we did get a point ultimately, and it was a last minute one. So it feels obviously like there's more on it. It feels like it's a huge, huge moment. Sometimes when you score in the last minute, it feels like you've won the game rather than drawn the game. So I'm trying to be positive about it. I'm trying to look at it and think that's an extra point, because if we got beat last night with the performance as well, with it not being so well, it would have. You've got to try. Got to. I know where you're coming from. You're saying you've got to win your home games. I'm saying you've got to get something like your home games, especially when you don't play well. So. Yeah, I know what you mean. Before the game, it's definitely you're looking for 3 points, but as you said there, in the 90th minute, if you can grab a point, then you take it, and who knows what it'll do for us. Yeah,
they were the better side, like you said, and you do look at the home games and you're looking at goals, particularly because we are dreadful away. You're looking and thinking, this is an opportunity. It's their third game in 6 days, and there's lots of reasons why you're looking at it like that. I'm not being disrespectful to Leicester. I'm just saying that our need was greater than theirs last night. But they settled into it. They did change their entire team.
Yeah, they
did.
You know, that show they've got a strong, half decent squad. Yeah, and they changed it. That was their first team really last night. And obviously we brought Yerry Mina back in. Obviously Dominic Calvert-Lewin was unavailable. So you know, Richarlison went back up front, and again, I just don't like him playing in that position, because I just feel like you lose that work rate and that ability and to get us up the pitch. You know, he's not a centre forward, because he always wants to be in the game, and when he plays up front, certainly like in the first half last night, you've basically taken him out of the game because the ball never gets to him. Whereas when he's on the wide positions, he's more likely to go back, get the ball, help you win the ball, and then start pushing forward and try and make opportunities. So I'm not in favour of that. And I know it's difficult because Rondon's our only other striker, but unless you put Dele Alli in there. But for me, I just think you lose something when you play with Richarlison up front.
Yeah, because he's not a back-to-goal striker, is he? He likes things in behind. We just can't get the ball to him. I think Damari Gray's, he's been great this season, but he's an individual type player, isn't he? He's a winger who likes to pick the ball up and run at people. He doesn't really throw loads of crosses in, doesn't get to the byline and cut things back. So he was to come in and have a shot. So Richarlison was in the first half, just simply wasn't in the game. You know, he wasn't winning headers. Johnny Evans was mopping most, and Fofana was mopping most of that up. And you're right, he's when he's in the game all the time, he's just a bigger threat, and he enjoys it more because he comes looking for the ball. I think the difference with him and Dominic Calvert-Lewin is Calvert-Lewin will just sit centrally and is happy to do that, and is good in the air when he's fully on it, and Richie benefits from that. But I think when he's up, we do lose something.
Does that show then, you know, moving forward, that we need a different kind of striker, someone who is prepared to do that doggy work, put those hard yards in like we used to when we had, say, when Moyes had those kind of strikers playing up front for us, you know, when, or is it a case of just we need to get someone who can do everything?
Well, if you're gonna, you're looking at like strikers in Premier League level. It's really weird because Manchester City haven't got one. Yeah, they'll probably get Haaland because it looks like that's who they're gonna get now. And he's a player who can do everything. He can play with his back to goal. He's a player who'll play over the top for you. He's good in the air, but there's not many of them around. Or they cost big money and they want to go to top clubs. Liverpool have different type of strikers who can do everything. The two wide players are wide forwards. They're not really centre forwards. And then you've got Firmino, who is a little bit more back to goal, but he's also very clever as well and arrives late in the box. Jota does the same. And they're the best two teams in the land. And then Chelsea are using Havertz now, who's more of an attacking midfielder. Lukaku doesn't get in, who is a striker. So it is difficult when you're looking around the league to go, well, we need that kind. But what I would like to see us play with is a more fluid front three. And I think to do that, you need players who can all do bits of the jobs. And I think one of our strikers is going to move on in this summer. Even if Everton stay up, but if Everton get relegated, both of them are going. But if Everton stay up, I think at least one of them will go. So we'll have to think about how we move forward from that point of view. And see where we go with that. It is difficult. I like Brozier at Southampton. He's obviously on loan from Chelsea. He's not prolific yet, but he's got all the attributes. He's big, he's quick, mobile, decent in the air, can travel with the ball. If I was Lampard, if Everton stayed up, he would be one I'd be going after. Whether Chelsea will let him go is another story, and whether he'd choose Everton over Southampton is another one. But I think there's a lot of work to be done with this Everton side. There really is.
There's a lot more than that. But obviously we started really slowly. They had a chance within the first 30 seconds. That
great
Seamus Coleman has to make an unbelievable tackle, sort of gets hurt in the process. But we started so sloppily, and that should have been the warning. We knew they were going to have loads of possession, and I suppose it would have been the case of they would have been told to, you know, not engage them, but obviously just keep your shape, hold your shape. But first few minutes we're just chasing shadows, and then, you know, they get a little simple give and go on their right hand side round Michalenko, pull it back, and it ends up. You know, it ends up in the back of the net, you know, through Harvey Barnes. It's just the worst possible start. It's a home game where you're dying for 3 points. You've seen what we've done against Manchester United. You've seen what we've done at Newcastle. We've kept those clean sheets in 2 games. And then within 5 minutes, you give a goal away. That's sloppy. It's just, it took their little bit of life that was in Goodison Park straight out of it.
Yeah, it's a poor goal to concede. We don't get tight enough on the pass. Michalenko's caught because he's got runners behind him. He's got to try and engage the ball. Delph doesn't track Maddison, and that's what he's got to do. Delph jogs in, Maddison sprints in, Maddison cuts it across, and it's a bit fortunate really because it's a flick by Iheanacho that hits Yerry Mina. If it doesn't hit Yerry Mina, it's a comfortable save for Jordan Pickford. So he flicks it goalwards. Mina gets a block in, and it breaks. Harvey Barnes bobbles it into the corner through the legs of Seamus Coleman. And we're 1 down. And it's a game, you're right, a game that you're looking at thinking, can we get them on the back foot a little bit, or can we at least stay in the game and create opportunities on the break? And you're 1-0 down immediately, and it's like, okay, this is a different challenge. We've not been behind since Wolves, which we lost that game. We won the last 2, and we've, not getting any points at Burnley and West Ham was a hammer blow. And their foot, no pun intended there. And it was a case of, can we pick ourselves up? And for 10 minutes after the goal, we simply couldn't get the ball. For the first 15 minutes, we couldn't get the ball.
Very much like the Wolves game, where we couldn't get near them for a long period of play. I thought, though, It felt like longer than 10 minutes to me. It felt like more like half an hour, I'll be honest.
No, but we had it. What I mean by that is we had an opportunity. In fact, we'll see the opportunity just on the still that Everton did have, because we broke out, good bit of running, got Anthony Gordon in, and he puts a great ball in, and Richarlison has to score. We'll have a look at that in a sec. So you can see here, just Gordon's gone down the line and cut it across, and just look at the Richarlison circle. Yeah. Look at the space. Fofana's got no clue where he is. Schmeichel's stuck on the near post, and there's nobody anywhere near Richarlison. Yeah. He can take a touch and roll it on the arrow where he should just be rolling that ball in. He's gone at it first time, and I think it's hit his heel and gone back towards Schmeichel and wide. Where I was sat as it dropped to him, ready to stand up, because it was a goal. It was a goal. And he's got they're crucial chances. He takes a touch there. He should be able to finish it first time, but he could take a touch and just pass it in. It's 1-1. Sets up a different game then, you're back in it. You've given a bad goal away, you're back in it. Go from there. But it didn't. He missed it, and Leicester then just, Mendy in particular, was heavily involved. Him and Tielemans were dropping in, getting it, knocking it round. The problem was Everton's midfield was so slow, the three of them. We couldn't get near them. Whereas, because they're mobile, if you're good in possession like Leicester are, and all Brendan Rodgers' teams have been, we've seen the same at Swansea. Liverpool were good with it. Celtic are good in possession. He's come to Leicester, they've been good under him. All of them can play that game, because you said it on a different show, muscle memory, they've been trained, coached all the time, do this, do that. If you haven't got players who can be athletic enough to get round and get in the faces and nick the ball, they're going to enjoy large spells of possession.
But isn't that the point though? Isn't that, in a way, the point is that they're going to enjoy large, and it doesn't really matter what you do, because...
But you've got to knock them out the stride, haven't you? You got to.
Can you though? Can you? I mean, but can you if you haven't got the players? Because I do believe that Everton have been guilty of chasing games when they've been playing teams who are better than them and getting dragged all over the place. I think one thing we actually did well last night was not get dragged all over the pitch. I think we stayed in the game, and I think there's been other games where you go 1-0 down, you're playing a team who are clearly better than you, and the temptation is to just go, hell for leather, start following around the pitch and being dragged out everywhere. And I actually thought, as a team, one thing we did last night, I think, in the first half, they had one more chance where Maddison, which was not long after they scored. But I thought in the whole, we kept the shape, and yet we couldn't get near them. And listen, what we've been guilty of at a lot of times, like I said, is not staying in a game. And that doesn't mean, like, you can say, you want to make chances, you're at home. But I think where we've gone wrong in some games is gone chasing the game, and then you get it with a second goal. And I thought what we did well was just kept the shape and didn't do anything stupid. Don't get me wrong, the midfield, Alan looked like he was wearing Michael Keane's boots. Delph didn't really move. That Iwobi is running, but I don't know whether, at times I'm looking at him and he just doesn't know where to be. No. Because obviously he's supposed to be ahead of those two, but at times he was getting dragged in as like a flat three, and that's not where he wants to play. So obviously it limited what we could do. I was just glad that we didn't start getting pulled out of position. So
what disappointed me was, though, no, you're right with that. I wasn't criticising. I was saying, when teams are good in possession, what you have to do is knock them out the stride. I wasn't necessarily saying, we were terrible because we didn't, but that was a problem for us. That's why they just had the ball, because we couldn't get close to them. But what we should have done was, when we were using the out ball, which was trying to get it up to Richarlison, we needed Gordon and Gray to be closer together. Yeah. They were too spread far away. So when Richie, he wasn't winning stuff, but when he was contesting it, and say Fofana was heading it down into that pocket of space in front of him, we had nobody anywhere near it. So they were just starting again.
And that shows the limitations of the team, because the fullbacks don't really overload. Michalenko can get further up the pitch than Coleman can, but they're not overloading. And by not overloading, that means that the Gordon and Damari Gray have to stay wide. They're not coming in and feeding off. And then Iwobi got dragged back into it, so he's not feeding off it. So it was like the perfect storm of for them scoring it. Because for us, I imagine Frank Lampard would have just said to him, these are going to have loads of the ball. You're just going to have to pick and choose your moments. And I think, but that's where I'm sort of, when they scored the goal, I'm glad the game plan didn't just get thrown out the window.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? You're absolutely right. The game plan would have been, let these have the ball and tie themselves out in a way, which I think that they pretty much, not tied themselves, they got bored more than anything.
Well, they weren't doing anything with
the
ball,
making chances. They weren't making chances. But unfortunately, when you're a goal down and you are looking for, you have to up your game. It's whether this Everton team can do that without opening that back door. And I think we've said loads of times, it's a case of, it's disappointing because it's at home. But I think loads of times we've said, stay in the game and an opportunity might present itself. And luckily it did. Obviously, if Richarlison scores, you're absolutely right. You're back in the game early. You've got an hour then to try and find that winning goal. Because it
and the game changes,
and
the game crowd changes,
and all of that. Yeah. So I think it's a bit like for Frank Lampard. It's a bit like you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. Because we saw it in the second half when he made those offensive subs, it suddenly opened the whole game up. But you're right. Charlotte should be better in that chance. Let's be honest. It's hard to criticise him in terms of. He just gets it wrong. He just gets it completely wrong. It's not. You can criticise him. I don't mean that. He just gets it completely wrong. It's like he doesn't try and do something stupid. Like a lot of people, when that opportunity arises, a lot of people just say it's a first time. He does. He just gets it completely wrong. And unfortunately, in a game like this, and the situation we are, and the opportunities we create, which is very, very few, that's where we are as a team now. Everything has to be perfect. Yeah. But it's not a hard chance. He should be scoring that. He should be scoring it. No, he knows he should be scoring it.
Yeah, he scores that. It changes the game in that moment that you're not having to feel like you're chasing a game. But you're right, we stuck to the task. I mean, they finished with 63% possession, which is what you'd expect
not far
with
from
them.
The sweet spot from us, that.
No, but they had 69% at St James's Park on Sunday and lost the game in injury time. So if you're a Leicester fan, you're devastated. You've had 3 points at Everton taken away from you. You've had a point at Newcastle taken away from you. But Newcastle had much more efforts on goal than they did, and Everton had more efforts on goal than Leicester did last night. So that's what kind of team they are. Very easy on the eye. They've got some good players in there. They're a strong squad. For us, we did have to stay in the game. And the disappointing thing for me was, that they're going to have a lot of the ball. But in the first half in particular, we just didn't do enough. We had a moment where Anthony Gordon gets in round the back and there's 3 men to aim for in the middle, and he doesn't look up, he just overhits the cross, and he's got space, he's left the lad for dead. If he just looks up, he can pick a pass out. We got in round the back again, and I think it was Richarlison or a Wobie, and they cut it back to the wrong person. We had the moments off a corner where,
it was a good corner,
nice little corner, and Damari Gray can't wrap his foot round it. So we had moments, but I just felt, if you're going to allow a team to have the ball the way they did, and listen, I'm not sat here going Frank Lampard should have tried to play the way Leicester did, because we haven't got the players to play like Leicester. So what you have to do is go, what are these good at? Right, they're a team, and it's easy to play against Leicester. And what I mean by that is in terms of planning, because they play the same way all the time. So they're good on the ball, they move it around, they've got good moments. Maddison can hit a shot from 25 yards, he's a threat that way. Harvey Barnes, I think, is excellent, he works his bollocks off. The biggest disappointment for them would have been in the final third, where Iniacho was terrible, really. Daka didn't get lots of time, but they missed Vardy, obviously Vardy for them. But
their forwards didn't really work across the line.
No, they just quite static like ours was. So I think for Everton, just when we're being a little bit more direct, like you may have to against teams like that, we have to get support to our strikers. This was something used to criticise when Martinez was the Everton manager, and we had Lukaku up front. Very much like them last night, is that there was nothing in the final third for their striker to go after. And we do it in a different way now. We're trying to get the ball up to the striker, but if you're going to play the out ball, which is knocking it direct for the Richarlison, someone's got to be within 5 yards of him. Because like you said, there was too many times you only get, because he'll compete. Literally, he'll compete for it. He doesn't just let them get a free header. So a lot of time they were just knocking it down into that pocket behind them, and that's where we had to have either Gordon or Gray closer to him, or a Wobie. We didn't do that well enough, certainly for the first hour, and for that first hour, Mendy and Tielemans could have played with the flip-flops on, and both looked like they were. It was so comfortable for
them. The midfield, the problem with midfield is it's like whatever the makeup
and
of it.
And Dewsbury Hall about the good game as well.
The makeup of that midfield, whatever it is, it just doesn't have the right components. There's not enough mobility, and when Decore plays, he tends to allow space to open up because again he's not a defensive player. He's not natural. He's more where
Iwobi plays.
Iwobi plays, yeah. So you end up with it's either him or Iwobi rather than the other two. It's just a bad collection of players, and I think what I would say is that I thought the consistency of the performance was quite similar to the other games we've seen at home. So whether that level's high enough, I don't know. But it's not like when we're playing at home, we're sort of seeing the same performance, and I suppose that's what we've been asking for. And I don't think those performances were massively too dissimilar either to the West Ham and the Burnley game. It's just that in those games we individual errors that cost us, cost us massively on those nights, which we've not having as many of us home, or if any like that. So, and obviously, second half, it's sort of continuing the same vein, isn't it? So, you obviously made a couple of subs. You bought, Dele on, who, obviously that started to open the game up a little bit. They were starting to get a little bit more space, but more in the final third, where we'd been, a bit more protective. So there was a few more chances, and obviously Rondon come on, and once Rondon come on, I thought that opened up Richarlison a little bit more, because you've got to try and with four home games left, that one included, you've got to make sure you pick something up, haven't you? Did open the game up, it led to a few opportunities, but it was nice to see us being proactive, going we've got to get something.
Yeah, Rondon, both subs made a difference, I thought. Thought Dele had one of his best, it's not hard, he's not hardly played, but it was one of his better performances for Everton. I thought he tried to get on the ball, thought he tried to take us forward, he competed well. And I thought Rondon probably, for me, had his best game in Everton's year, the best contributions, I thought, because he was effective. He came on, all of a sudden they weren't winning headers. One of the earliest things was a ball forward, he wins the header, and Richarlison takes it on, hits it, and Schmeichel has to make a save from it. It was basic, but that's what you need to do in our position. And I feel sorry for Frank Lampard in a way that he's just firefighting at the moment. He's in a situation that we've got players that don't knit together at all. And we're in a dire situation in the table, and therefore he's had to almost sacrifice his principles. Everton aren't playing the way Frank Lampard wants to play, so he's had to sacrifice his principles to try to put points on the board, and that's what he's trying to do. And I guess if he was sat here, he'd say, well, we lost against Wolves, and since then we took 7 out of 9 points at home, and we've only conceded 1 goal, and it was a scruffy goal. So for him, you'd look at that. We got beat at Burnley, and we were down, weren't we? We were not down, we were like so gutted. Everyone was on the floor, and we took 4 points in the next 6. So that you'd have to look at these little moments, I guess, and go, that's all right, we're adding points now, we're doing something me and you've been calling for all season. It's like, start putting points on the board, and this was a game that, maybe I heard Seamus Coleman say, maybe we'd have lost that 6 weeks ago.
Yeah, because we spoke about this today. Something like the Wolves game, very similar to the Wolves game. That day, okay, we didn't concede as early. We conceded early in the second half, didn't we? And they dominated after that, but towards the end of that game, the players looked like they were beaten. They'd give it up. The fans at the end showed their disapproval because there was nothing. Nothing. No. And I would say, even Frank Lampard on that day didn't make the kind of substitutes that were going to throw everything at them. It was just a little bit like, it was almost like, well, we've still got plenty of games left, so I don't want to lose a second one. We might get something. Whereas I think, and in that game, everyone just gave it
up.
Just
petered out with 15 minutes to go, and should never have done.
Against the Wolves team that hardly made any opportunities.
They done nothing.
Whereas I think what I would say is last night, it wasn't like a desperate, like a desperate atmosphere or never felt desperate on the pitch. But we had to go, and bringing those 2 subs on, obviously, as I said, opened the game up massively. They had a few chances. Again, Jordan Pickford only had to really make one save. Okay, defenders made blocks. Delph, funny enough, made a block from Maddison, didn't he? The one that hit the side netting. So we've made blocks, but defenders have done what they've done. But at least we had the plays on the pitch, you know, and to try and create more opportunities, get corners, get blocks. You know, there was one with Richarlison, one on the left-hand side, there was one Anthony Gordon, one on the right-hand side, stopping it in the full-back positions.
Obi did as well.
You know, so there was a lot more of actually, there's belief that you can get something out the game, whereas, as I said, the Wolves game, it didn't feel like that was there. So, you know, if you're going to take little positives from it, I think there was a general belief that we could get something out of the game.
Yeah, no one gave it up. I don't think the crowd gave it up either. You know, we got the equaliser, and we got a corner, and we might have even won it.
Yeah.
You know, with the better thing, we had so many corners that were flicked on, and people didn't get on the end.
There was one that was flicked on.
Rondon flicked it on.
Just Dele's head.
It was at Dele, yeah. You know, and there was those moments as well. So you can't sit here and go, well, you know, we were great and we done this. No. But you're looking for a positive. And it is the attitude, I guess, to keep going, we can get something here. The more you do that and you get your reward, the more you start to believe you're never beaten. Where I think for 2/3 of this season, we've believed we're beaten. And that's been the problem. There's games that have just ebbed away. When you look back now, you think, if we'd have just got a point there, if we'd have just equalised there, and we've had chances. But you think of Brentford away, manager not putting any strikers on. The game just ebbed away. They done nothing and it ebbed away. Wolves away in the second half. All Everton. Couldn't get the equaliser. You know, there's been lots of those. We've lost the odd Norwich City.
Palace, I think.
Palace. But Norwich away, it was 2-1 down with half an hour left. They could have made it 3 at the end. But for a period after the Charlton scored, nothing happened. And it's like those kind of games where if you nick a point, it changes the whole dynamics of it. And so maybe if you're looking for positives, you know, on a night where the home game's gone and you haven't won it, is that they carried on believing. And we made chances, didn't we? Then once Rondon was on and Dele was in there, they all of a sudden looked uncomfortable. And that's what I was saying before, is that they could play around us because they're used to it. We're not the most mobile of midfields. So therefore, all they have to do is get it. And what I thought Everton did wrong last night, and they hadn't done this for the last 2 home games, was it wasn't a case of we all press. One was going to press and the rest weren't. So they were playing around us, and it looked like what happened early on and what's happened at different times of the season, where we didn't know whether to stick or bust. Where against Newcastle and against United, and in the better games against like Leeds and even Man City, when one pressed, they all went, and then no one pressed, and you made sure. And that, I don't know why that was the case last night, but I thought for the first hour we didn't press as a team, and we were a little bit, the structure wasn't quite right. It was where they were on the pitch, but that in terms of going and closing the ball wasn't. Whereas with the last half an hour, there was a lot more unity with what they were doing. And therefore, it made it a little bit more uncomfortable for Leicester. And they never looked in control then for the last half an hour, whereas for the first hour, they were in total control.
Yeah. And obviously, we had the Richarlison chance. They moved this to one in the second half as well for corner, which...
Well, let's have a look at that, because this is another one, you know. I've got him circled in the middle of the goal there. The corner's come in, and for him, this is a glorious opportunity. He's in the middle of the goal. He's 6 yards out. He's got to hit the target at least. He's got to make Schmeichel make a save. You know, if you move it on one, we've seen it's coming off his shoulder still. He's still above Johnny Evans comfortably. And then we see this one, which is from behind. You can see him there. Look, he's clear. It's a clear header. And all he's got to do is get the connection at the goal. And that was with, I think, 6, 7, 8 minutes left before, and injury time to come. And it's a free header, and he's got to score then. You know, he's our big player. we rely on in a fella that's hit double figures and double figures and double figures every year, and this year he's been way off it. I know he's had his injuries, and I know the team, and he's been moved around. And
they're the moments, aren't they? They're the
moments. He's our big player.
They're the moments, you know, that you've got to, you know, as you said there, with the time left, they're the moments. I know, you know, he's ended up scoring the goal, but you know, it's in injury time. There's not much more you can do, even though there was a little bit of time to get, I think, win a corner.
Yeah, we got a corner.
But there is time to win the game, and they are the chances that we've been sort of. It's funny, isn't it? Because I think last season, Dominic Calvert-Lewin's conversion rate was unbelievable. You know, the goals per chances was one of the best in the league, and certainly for the Everton team, I think that was the big difference last season, where, you know, we've not had big chances recently, and last night, you know, our XG was unbelievable last night compared to theirs, you know.
But it's because we had them on the middle of the goal. We'd expect to score. Everton should have, on XG, Everton should have won the game. So it's frustrating. And that's why you come out and you go, oh, even though they've been the better side, we've had chances to actually win.
But as you said there, you know, again, putting pressure on them, the goal itself, I think it was a long ball out from the back. Dele hasn't given up on it. He wins it. Gets in front of the full-back. Yeah. Puts a cross into the box. Rondon's in there. We've got two men on the six-yard box line. He gets in front of the defender. You know, whether he was trying to control it or whatever, it doesn't really matter. And it's got to Richarlison. It's a scruffy one. It's hit someone. I mean, again, there's the irony, isn't it? So two clear chances, and he's hit a scruffy one. It's hit someone. It's ended up in the back of the net. And that is, you know, it's the little, again, it's that little bit of luck. But
then we didn't have to look for their goal. They had to look. So
yeah. So
both goals are identical.
Yeah, yeah.
It's basically two scruffy, horrible, deflected goals. And it ends up in the, you know, both at the street end, and it ends up 1-1. And, you know, first 4 minutes, last 4 minutes, and that's kind of how it ended, didn't it? And he was in the right place at the right time, and he's put it in, and it's his first goal, you know, it might do him the world of good. You hope, because we need him to score goals. We need him to take chances in big games. He's the only one, you know. Dom, you know, what did the manager say? He felt a sensation in his quad. Well, that's not good, because that's the injury he's been worried about, and now he's feeling stuff in it. Not a good sign, is it? No. So, who knows? You know, he may be back for Chelsea. Is he going to be? You know, I think the best we can hope for off Dom now is a sub, 20 minutes as a sub. Because if you start to feel the same injury again, you're a bit worried about it. Yeah. You can't. You're not going to put everything into it. It's a psychological thing now as well. I'm sure he'd be feeling it and thinking, is it gone again? Or is that got, you know, and you've got to get over that. Difficult to come back from. Only time does it. The longer you put between feeling anything, you start to get your confidence back, and that's the thing with it. So it's going to be on him. You know, and it's going to be on people like Anthony Gordon, Damari Gray, you know, Rondon maybe, Dele maybe. These people, we need to score goals, because our games will be tight. We're not good enough team to take games away from. We don't create them. And ironically, last night, we didn't play well, and yet we could have scored 4 goals. You know what I mean? In other games, we've had one real good opportunity.
Well, what about the other? I mean, obviously, we're talking about that end of the pitch, but what about the other end of the pitch? Obviously, Yerry Mina came back last night. Let's just have a look at his numbers.
Yeah. At some stage. There you go. 72 touches, 3 clearances, 1 interception, 3 tackles, won 8 of his 12 duels. Completed 100% of his clearances, headed and normal clearances. That's not on there. They're just better stats that I'll give you, because Ned can't be asked trying. But now he was back and back in the side, absolutely like he should have been as well. And was very comfortable. He makes our defence better. Yeah. It's as simple as that. You know, I had to do the opposition preview for the derby, and I likened him to Virgil van Dijk on a much lower level of, like, and what I mean is,
gonna love that.
I did qualify it. I did qualify it and said it's this, when you get that defender that makes everybody else better, their level's much higher than what ours is. But Yerry comes in and makes everybody else better. You know, Godfrey looked better alongside him. Obviously, you had Seamus who done all right in there, and Michalenko did okay. Well, I thought Michalenko was very good, actually. compared to like how he's grown, not like Luca Dean level, but he's getting he seems to be getting better. I think Yerry Mina calms everything down in there. It'd be important for us if he can stay fit for the last 7 games. He'll be very important for us because he's commanding. He's got that bit of character. He's got that little bit of needle and nastiness about him as well. You need that from a centre-back. You need a leader. You always say, you need an alpha in there, and he's very much Everton's alpha.
Yeah, let's just hope he can stay fit, because I thought, bar the first 5 minutes, I thought, defensively, we looked, right there, of course, we give up chances when the midfield, and but we got blocks in.
You're going to give chances up,
though. Of course, it's
Premier
football.
League.
It's football, isn't it?
It's the best teams give chances
but there was no real mistakes. There was just normal mistakes, like the occasional stupid hanging onto a ball too long and being pressed and falling over and holding.
Just kick it out, Seamus. Boot it out.
So there are going to be moments.
Because it annoys you and he goes on the floor and goes like that with his hands on his head. It's like, just kick it out, mate.
The best one was when he went across the Gladys Street and then
he done well. It was good. But it's when he's running back towards the corner and 3 men around him, kick it out and just go like, you can have a go with other people then.
And also Seamus, shoot first time, mate. Come on, mate. You could have easily scored that. You've scored that goal loads of times.
Well, even Delph with a couple of his blocks, people, great block. It was like, if he'd just marked him, he wouldn't have had the shot. It's like standing off. But we got the blocks in, and that's
But defensively, important. I thought we looked, we looked a lot better again. Last 3 games, we've only conceded 1 goal at home. Which, and of course, we are giving something up offensively by doing that, of course. So, and it's about finding the balance. But the simple fact is, if you don't concede goals, you don't lose games. That's just simple. That's science. Logistics, maybe. I'm not sure which one it is.
Yeah, but you've got to add points on. That's what you've got to do, and we haven't done that enough this season.
That's it. Clean sheet means points.
At least a point, yeah.
We never got a clean sheet last night. But let's have a look at the stats.
There you go.
So obviously 13 shots, 3 on target. They had 11 shots, 3 on target. 2 big chances to us. Possession, 37%. Just below the sweet spot, which is 38% as far as I'm concerned. And obviously you can see the passes there. There you go. We're playing Leicester. That's what happens when you play Leicester. Doesn't mean you can't beat them. And we've got, in a couple of weeks' time, we've got them again. So a few days after they've played in a big European semi-final. So opportunity that day. There you go. As I said, I still don't know whether it's a 0.1 or 2 drop.
Well, listen, it's kept the cushion, hasn't it? It's given a little cushion with Burnley. It's 4 points. Again now, they've got a game tonight at home and they've got a game on Sunday before we kick off. So they played twice before the derby. We'll see where we are after that. But for us, we just got to keep adding points. You keep adding a point, you go. The weekend, Burnley were 1-up and had the penalty to make it 2-0 at West Ham and end up drawing. And okay, they could have lost it. Nick Pope's made great saves, but they'll come out of that going, that a point gained or 2 lost. And for us, we just seen, oh my God, they're another point closer to us. Now, last night, we've put that point back. There's a bit of distance. So that's how we have to look at it. We've just got to keep trotting the points up and hope it's enough.
Aye, we'll see. We'll only know at the end of the season. There you go. Give this video a like. Let us know your thoughts in the comments. If you want to watch this video live, we're live now on Patreon. And we'll doing a little bit more on Patreon after that. Then the link is in the description. If you want to join Patreon, daily exclusive shows. Thanks for watching. See you later. There we go. Back.